Okay everybody, and welcome back to another vlog with myself, as always, Alex Connor from Fearless Training. And today we're going to go through and over and under and around a really popular subject, topic, application and tool, which is MyFitnessPal. And I'm sure a lot of you will be very familiar with this. You may have used it. I imagine if you are someone who follows me and within my audience, then you are aware of the app, what it does, what it's about. So I'm going to give you a bit of a rundown today. I'm going to go through all the key points, all of the little tips, tricks and hacks that I've learned from using it over the years, and also from people with a little bit more experience than me. So bear with this one. I've got a screen recording next to me so you can follow along. Some of it will be in time, some of it will be a little bit out of time, but I'm going to go over all the key points and go through it in order, and then you can match it up with the screen recording because that can get a bit lengthy. But I wanted to give you a little bit more of an in-depth analysis and kind of go through every single thing rather than just kind of wing it and tell you a few things, because once again the devil is in the details, and there's a lot of ways you can make MyFitnessPal much more user-friendly, and there's plenty of ways to balls it up. So the first thing I want to just preface is that it is a tool, okay, and it is a way of tracking. It's not the only way of tracking. I don't believe you have to do this. I don't think that everyone should do this, and I think once again it should be implemented as a tool as and when with the appropriate amount of education, which is what I'm gonna hopefully achieve with you all here today, and just to set some expectations before you go ahead with it, or before you enhance your experience with it, some recommendations, considerations as always, because if tracking food is not implemented well, it can cause more harm than good. It can cause a bad relationship or an unhealthy relationship towards nutrition, and that's not what we want. So generally when we start off with someone tracking their food, or we want to see, what someone is actually eating and we want to improve their nutritional habits, we actually look at what they're doing currently. And this is, in my belief, and from what I've learned, from working one-on-one with clients, and also from the literature and then more experienced peers and practitioners, we should actually have a look and an objective look, subjective look, however you want to look at it, from what that person is doing, and then start with the small things and slowly build it over time, rather than going from one extreme to another. You've got to get a starting point. Take someone from wherever they are and then build them up. However, if we can measure it, we can manipulate it, and what gets measured gets managed. So once again, for those of you who are wanting to take things to the next level, for those of you who are wanting to lose some weight, okay, this is a great tool, and it's a tool that we generally all use, and it can be used with lots of clients. It can be used for yourself personally to achieve your goals, and you don't have to pay for it. There is a paid version, but we are going to use the free version here today, and I don't believe you have to get the paid version. If you want to, that's up to you, but it is not necessary. So at some point we want to get back to eating mindfully or intuitively, but actually common sense, getting back to what we already know and listening to our body, but listening to our body truly and authentically. And what I mean by that is, if you tell someone who's overweight, hey, just listen to your body, they're still going to overeat. So again, it always comes down to habits and behaviors. So keep that in mind before we begin. The second thing is Apple versus Android. I'm using an Apple. It's going to be slightly different using Apple versus Android, and if you use it on the desktop, it's a little bit different again. So I've already been side by side now scrolling through, and now I'm going to go through those key points, which are within what you can see on the screen here. So first of all, you can set it up. That's what you're going to have to do. You're going to put in your details. It's going to ask you about your weight, your gender, your height, your goals, etc. Now, again, this is a bit of a caveat. Put something in that is the most accurate. when it comes to goals, gaining weight and losing weight, there's different rates here. It's going to spit out some pretty generic numbers. It's going to be better than what most people are doing. However, if you want more specific criteria on how many calories you should be consuming, your protein, your fat, your carbohydrates, your macronutrients, I'll do more specific videos in the future on that. However, I do have a few previous ones which touch base on it. And for those of you who really want to get ahead and get a handle on this, then visit my website, which we'll touch through at the end. That's fearlesstraining.org, where you can log into my academy. That's a subscription-based service where you get me inside there with all professional videos going through everything you need to know, explaining the science in a simplistic way that you can apply it, where you can figure out all of those things yourself rather than continually getting confused and following one thing and then following another. Okay, with that said, once you've personalized it, you can add friends, you can change your goals, you can add pictures, etc. You can change the metrics as well. So what I mean by that is it will generally start with kilojoules. Now, once you've adjusted that, I mean, if you want kilojoules, and for those of you in America and overseas, or if that's your preference, go for it. I generally use calories, kilocalories, if you like, just because that's the metric that I'm used to and that's generally what I work with. And in this part of the world, in Australia, it's generally what most people go with. However, it doesn't really matter. Use what you will. The main thing is we are tracking it. So I'm just going to go through my key points. And once again, you'll see on the side screen, I'm just going to go through things. So it might not be perfectly in time, but I'm still going to go through everything so you can visually see it, and then I'm going to explain it. So you might have to go through this a couple of times. But if you watch the screen and you look at how I'm navigating through, it will give you some ideas, and it will also show you the actual process of being able to do these things, so you can actually fast forward and make sure you're getting the most out of this app, because I think there's a lot of confusion around it. One of the main things is just have a play with it. That is how kids learn, right? That's they go into you've all seen, they go into the electronic shop, they go into the Apple store, and they just start pressing on the iPad, because there's no fear. And then at some point we kind of get fearful and we don't do it and we want all the right answers, and that doesn't always happen. So the biggest thing is just have a go, make mistakes, learn by them, and continue on. That is how you're going to get good with this app. But follow along here and you'll be able to kind of shortcut that process just a little bit. So entering foods, you can search for foods, obviously, you can scan foods, big brands, you can individualize it. When you're entering food, be as specific as possible. So for example, if it's a brand food, then you can, like you see here with Nutella, or as you would have already seen, you can scan that in. Now, sometimes the metric on that, so for example, it might say 1 cup or 1 tablespoon. Now that's, I mean, I don't know about you, but I can do a tablespoon and then I can do a tablespoon. And if you're hungry, you're gonna have a bigger tablespoon. That's gonna be a different quantity. So you're always better to measure in grams and milliliters and things that are not ambiguous, like cups and bowls. Even though they are standardized measurements, everyone's got a different ideology of what that actually is. So make sure that you go with something which is more accurate. Food scales are really easy to buy. You can purchase them from, again, any local store. They're really cheap. You can pick them up for like anywhere from $5 to $10 here in Australia. Plus, you don't need anything fancy, but that will just give you a bit of an idea on how to do that. If you can't scan the barcode and it's not a packaged food or it's not a well-known food, you can search for it, be specific with the name, with the description of what it is. For example, if we are searching up Pix peanut butter, I'm going to put Pix, the brand peanut butter. And if you just put peanut butter, you'll get a whole lot of other brands and generic brands. It's not bad, but again, it's going to leave room for more inaccuracy, and there's going to be enough of that as there is. If you do scan the barcode, make sure that the food is what it says it is, which sounds like common sense, but you would be surprised. So you might scan something, it might be a bag of vegetables, and it's like sprouts, and it's not sprouts, it's mixed vegetables. Also make sure when you scan the item, it matches up with a nutritional label, if you have that in front of you. So you might scan it and it might say, cool, banana chips, and then you actually look at the pack and you're like, whoa, that's way out. It says it's got way more fats on here than it actually does, and that means you might have to go and find another entry, because the entry that you're using is not as accurate, or the input that has been used is not as accurate. Now, when you're tracking foods, and whole foods specifically, you want to have a look at, or I encourage you to track them dry weight, raw weight, rather than cooked. You can do cooked, there's nothing wrong with that. So if you go out to a restaurant and you want to track that, you may do it cooked because it's going to be easier and it's a bit of a one-off. But if you're cooking in bulk or you're cooking at home, uncooked weight is far more accurate. For example, raw chicken breast, sweet potatoes, etc. It's just going to be a lot easier, especially if you distribute that up into meal preparation and divide it. And then once again, cooking method will take precedence. So for example, if you're cooking, say, eggs, and then you're frying them and adding oil, you've got to make sure that you add the oil, etc. But again, tracking things raw for the most part, okay, is going to be a little bit more accurate. You can track it cooked, but it just means a bit more of a pain in the ass when you get and cook the food. And if you're then trying to weigh out cooked food all the time, where you could have just weighed it raw, cooked it, and then divided it by the amount of servings you're going to have. Quick hack here, negative weighing. So if you've got anything like a large bowl of rice, or you're using a peanut butter, or you're using Nutella or something like that, or a spread, put the spread or put the food item on the scale, zero the scale, and then take out whatever grams that you desire or what you're going to have, rather than trying to put the cooked food or whatever the item is, say the toast, on the scales on a plate, negative it, and then add the peanut butter and Nutella on top. Because once you've sort of taken that out, it's hard to put it back in. So if you negative weigh it, it's a lot easier to put it back within the desired container or food group, rather than trying to take it off your toast or whatever it might be. And make sure that you round things as well. So you might not go for odd numbers. It might be just a lot easier just to hit round numbers rather than putting every 23 grams of chicken on the plate. Just go for 120. And if you go over, it's a little bit, take it away from something else that's more easy to quantify. So accuracy, again, ensuring that what you're tracking is actually accurate, using accurate measurements, making sure that the food you're consuming is actually congruent to what you put in. So there's a couple of reliable companies, acronyms, sources, entries, whatever you want to call it, that I have found I've been recommended. So when you're looking for whole foods, things that are generally not packaged, there's a company called Nutab, and then USDA. Tracking with those elements, those companies, those entries are a lot more accurate, as you can see via the video. You will be able to get a much more accurate and consistent reading. Again, we'll never 100% know exactly what we're putting in. It's just going to be impossible because there's too many variances, but the more things you can take control of, the better. Okay, so popping that in there. Again, a side note, if you're in comp prep, you need to get really, or you want to get really, really good at tracking accurately before you're more experienced, and you can use more intuitive, mindful approaches. But when you're someone who's starting off, you want to have a bit of what I like to set as ranges for my clients. So rather than hitting the gram, the calorie, have a range of 100 to 200 calories, probably about 100, depending on the situation, the goal, the flexibility, the adherence, and then also the skill. And then within every macronutrient, if you can get within 5 grams for fat, 10 grams to 20 grams of carbohydrates and protein, you're going to be sitting fairly good without too much stress and strictness. And then over time, you can narrow that goal. So it's like I use the analogy of a dart on a dartboard. Just get the darts on the board, and then you can work your way to the bullseye. Because there's no point in trying to achieve a really definitive goal, say stepping on stage, if you haven't got some basic skills with tracking, just because you're going to make it much harder. It's one more thing to stress about, and you're going to set yourself up generally for a little bit more variance of error or failure, and it's just not worth it. Like anything, the more you do this, the better you get, the more competent you will become. And all of this really is to add awareness. So, the reason why we do this eventually is to be able to move away from this. So if we're not learning anything from this and we're just seeing it in a binary approach and we're looking at the numbers, then we're never going to be able to step away from it. But if we start to look and learn and understand quantities and what's actually in food, calories, fats, protein, carbs, fiber, etc., vitamins, minerals, electrolytes, we're going to start to, over time, subconsciously know when we look at foods without becoming a robot. I sort of know that that's a higher calorie food, that's a lower calorie food, that's high in protein, that's low in protein, high in fat, low in carb, etc. So this should be the whole goal of tracking, apart from knowing what you're putting in your body and taking control of a variant that is responsible for body composition is also creating education and awareness, so that at some point you are able to walk away from this and have more flexibility. So creating meals as well, if you go into the meal tabs, you can create your own recipes, you can search them on the web, you can add your own ingredients, as you've seen with a couple of my foods there as well, and then you just adjust the serving size. So you might see a recipe and you might go, cool, that's really good, I'm going to exactly use that one, or no, I'm going to customize this, I'm going to add a little bit more protein, I'm going to take a bit more fat, or I'm going to change some ingredients to taste preference. I'm just going through my notes here, guys. Multi-adding is a really quick and easy way to do it, or copying and pasting your meals, as you'll see or have seen me do on my MyFitnessPal. So if you are someone who eats pretty much the same thing most days for a period of time, like myself, I'm not really going to enter it every day anymore. I'm at the point where I don't really do that, and I usually just create a meal template or a plan for myself, just so I know where I'm at in the ballpark, and if I've got a more definitive goal, I'll track more accurately. And then I will just be flexible during the week. So if I want to change something, I want to add something in or take something out that I know, okay, cool, well, that's roundabout, my second meal was, say, 400 calories, and I've had something else, and I can just sort of ad-lib with that. Because again, for me, I'm not on a really strict protocol at the minute. I'm not comp prepping. I've done this for many years. So I sort of make myself a little meal template so I know within the ballpark, and then I have a bit of flexibility within that, and I don't track it every day. And again, that's just from experience. And then on the weekends, I just eat what I want. Congruent to my goals, I listen to my body, listen to my hunger levels. I'm not super lean, despite what people think. I'm not overweight. I have good relationships with food, and I've built solid habits and behaviors, so I'm able to do that. Again, it's all contextual. It depends where you are in your journey of how you should approach this. Now, interpreting the data, you can, if you're on iPhone, you can click the plus at the top of each day, and that will actually bring you to the nutritional menu here. Or you can go down to more and click nutrition as well. You can also click the plus if you want to add anything in, etc. Now, when you go to that page, it will tell you their recommended goals to the right, the targets, and then I would suggest having your own goals and just looking at the totals. So we're using this as a measurement of calibration. So it's not like given, it's not gospel, it's just something, okay, that we are using to track. You can complete your diary entry every day. It will give you an estimation on what you should be. Again, take that with a large grain of salt. You can also see for how long you're doing it. If you want to enter your weight, your calories, you can go back and look at a year, 2 year, 3 years. You can look at all your data, which is quite handy as well. You can put progress pictures, which you'll see here. Some very interesting shots from back in the day, back in my younger days. But again, really cool to get this data, and again, it's all saved online. So, when we are looking at performance and body composition, data is king. It's also nice to just look back and see where you started as well. But you can see that evolution over time. Me here taking a picture in my underwear, as you do. So from the nutritional menu, the main things you want to be looking at is your protein, fats, carbohydrates, fiber. Okay, because if you're tracking things like, as I've shown you on the screen there, you look at leafy green vegetables, cruciferous vegetables, you're looking at things like peppers, tomatoes. They don't contain a lot of calories. Good to track initially, but you may move away from that, and that may change the vitamin and mineral content. So you might think, shit, I'm really low in fiber or vitamins or minerals or salt or something like that. Add it in ab libitum. So what I mean by that is a general rule of thumb for health is just 3 to 5 servings of fruit and vegetables a day, without going into too much detail. If you do that anyway, you're going to be within your vitamin and mineral goal for the most part. And again, if you're not in a dieting phase and you're not taking any multivitamins and you're getting most of your nutrients through whole foods, 80% quality whole food, 20% have fun with, flexibility. Again, general recommendations, you're going to be absolutely fine. Now, exercising, water, don't worry about putting exercise in or water unless you want to track your water. When you set your calories, you should already know, you should have that should be factored in when you learn to calculate your calories correctly, your NEAT, your TEF, eat, exercise, energy, thermogenesis, all of this, all those acronyms, which we won't go into in this episode, but again, that should be factored in. So to keep it simple, don't be adding exercise and then go, oh wow, now I've got another 200 calories, and then you eat another 200 calories. That's a dangerous place to be. Because you're going to continually kind of break that habit. So factor it all in. Use MyFitnessPal as a measurement tool rather than a crux to lean on, okay? Don't put all of your eggs in that one basket. Again, it's a tool. Know when to step away from it and know how to interact with it, okay? But don't be fearful if you can't use it. What else have we got here? I've pretty much touched base on most things, or you can do your weekly and your daily averages as you've seen, which is really great if you are on refeeds or you're someone who likes to undulate the calorie intake, so you want low, medium, and high days. Personally, if you're dieting, refeeds, if you're getting really lean, low, medium, high days you can do for adherence, they're not necessary. And if you're in a gaining phase, you generally want to just keep them the same every day to increase muscle protein synthesis. Again, a video for another time. Guys, once again, if you want to know more about what I do, my services, what I'm about, as you can see here, please visit my website, fearlesstrainingunited.org. Again, you can check out the academy. That's where I will teach you how to become your own trainer, if you like, and learn all of the key principles of nutrition and training, along with many other resources, exercises, libraries. We've got videos with professional chefs, other professional practitioners, bodybuilders, etc. That will be launching officially in February, but you can get in there now and get a first look at it. And if you want to learn more about what I do with my clients, again, jump over to the website. That's the best way to hear and see rather than just pictures, and get it straight from the horse's mouth. And you can learn more about what we do at Fearless Training there. Guys, I want to thank you for watching. Bit of a lengthy one, bit of an in-depth one. Make sure you go back through and have a look at those screen grabs, the screen recordings if you're unsure. The main thing is to play with this, just like anything. That's how you're gonna get better at it. That's how you're gonna learn. Do not be fearful. And again, keep in mind, MyFitnessPal is just a tool. Again, it's a great tool when implemented well, but when it's not implemented well, it can cause more harm than good. If you've got any questions, guys, leave them in the comments. If you like the video, drop it a like. Make sure to subscribe for weekly videos. I'm going to be banging these out every week, as I've been doing over the past few months. I'm going to make sure I'm going to be covering some of the most popular key topics, the most valuable topics, without the bullshit, for you guys. Again, it's a bit ab-liv. These ones are less serious, if you like. They're just off the cuff. I will continue to build the quality of them, though, because the main thing is that the content is high quality and interpretable for you guys. And as I've said, make sure you subscribe, share this with someone who will find it helpful, because at the end of the day, that is my main goal here, guys, to be able to get out good information and knowledge based on what I've learned, but from some of the best practitioners in the world. So I'm more of an educational communicator. I see myself as a bit of a middleman, as well as someone who's hands-on in the field, leading by example. Guys, thank you as always, and until next week, you already know it, stay fearless.